What if you could build a business that gives you the life of freedom you deserve? What if you could find the secrets to marketing, leadership, customer service, and other aspects of business that help you exceed your goals? What if you could walk away from your business for 30 days and it never misses a beat? That's what this podcast is for, to help business leaders like you find freedom from the day-to-day grind and start spending your time doing the things you love. I'm Levi McClendon, and my co-host is Josh Taylor, and this is the Cheers to Freedom podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Cheers to Freedom podcast. I am Josh Taylor, and I'm with my host, Levi McClendon. Levi, how are you today?
Man, I am doing really, really well. I know, Josh, we're doing well, but real quick, this is the day that the hurricane's hitting a lot of our friends and family, and so just our prayers and thoughts go out to those guys. I know they're not doing as well, but we just pray for their safety and protection, and that this thing gets through with as little as damage as possible. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a time of recovery. So, the next several weeks, maybe even months, definitely be thinking about you guys. And hopefully, if there's anything you need, if you're listening to this, reach out to us. Anything we can do to help, connect you with people, whatever. We want to do that. Well, you and I just got back from Orlando, which, is where the hurricane is now. So, we didn't even know that I think it was kind of like south of Cuba while we were there. But we were there for, 4 days at a conference, a marketing conference. And we won't do it in this episode, but in the next episode or two, I want to kind of talk through some of the things that we got from that, because there's just so many cool things. Actually, we're not going to, because we're going to talk about them at the summit. There were a couple things that we picked up that we've added to our list. And, the problem that we have at the summit is going through our list and figuring out what we don't have time to talk about, because there's so much that we could talk about. But one of the things that we're focusing on, probably the number one thing that we're focusing on for the Freedom Summit, is differentiating yourself from your competition, because there's a ton of people. I would say probably 90% of the people that are listening to this right now have competition moving into their area if they haven't already been experiencing it. And you've got to be able to separate yourself from that competition, and you can drive the market. You can be the preferred car wash. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of those strategies in the Freedom Summit, doing things I promise you nobody else in the industry is doing. And so really good nuggets that we got from the Freedom Summit. But it leads us into the conversation that we got to have with Donald Miller, who is the author of Building a StoryBrand, the CEO of Business Made Simple, and a whole bunch of other books that he's written on business and marketing. And he even shares some nuggets in that interview of how you can separate yourself from the competition. But Levi, real quickly, what did you think about the conversation that we had?
I was actually surprised, Josh. It was so good. Donald is so obviously smart in what he does. His craft, just the way that he thinks, the way that he communicates, the way that he just answering some of the questions some of the guys had. I'm like, oh, that is so good. We had immediately when we were done, I had guys texting me going, okay, that was awesome. Like just hearing from him. And again, he's so good at clarifying his message, his story, and engaging quickly with our customers to give them nuggets. I'm a little jealous. I wished I had that, but I need to hone in my craft. And it was really, really good. So
it's really good. So what we're going to do, we're going to let you in on the conversation that we had with Dom. We're going to let you listen to that whole thing, but you're going to see a few other people in there. And those are other car wash owners and operators that they're attending the Freedom Summit, but they had the opportunity to show up for this and ask Don some questions specifically to the car wash industry. And Levi, how often do we get the chance to ask these best-selling business authors questions specific to our industry? They write these books and they have great stuff to bring in, but we never okay, how does this affect my industry? And we never get to ask those questions. And so this was the opportunity to do that. And Don even talks about what got him to convert to an unlimited membership. He said that they asked him 40 times and he never did it. And then they finally asked him one, they did it a little bit differently and he signed up. And so he lets us know what that was. And so that's really exciting. So I really want people to listen to this. I'm really excited for people to hear our interview with Donald Miller.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. I've told people this before, and obviously we've handed out his book a lot all over, these conferences, these car wash shows that we go to, and the reason for that is, and I tell people this too, reading his book honestly changed my life. I would not be doing this podcast today if I didn't read his book and implement the things that he talks about. So the fact that, number one, we got to meet him in Nashville, right? And he spoke to our Club 50 tours, but also to be able to get him on a podcast where you interviewed him and got to obviously ask him some questions. To me, like, that was a dream come true. So super cool. Definitely a fanboy. So Donald, thank you so much for coming on. And I hope that those listening will also take these nuggets, apply them, which will honestly it'll change your business. And if you haven't read the book yet, Building a Story Brand, again, awesome. Pick it up, read it, amazing. And hope you enjoy this podcast. It was really good. Probably my favorite.
All right. Well, we're going to let you in on our conversation with Donald Miller. Let me introduce you guys first to the one and only Donald Miller. So Don, welcome. Don is the best-selling author of a whole bunch of books. I was first introduced to Don when I was a college student. He just came out with a book called Blue Like Jazz, and my college minister made me read it. And has been one of the things that shaped my life and my faith over the last 20 years. But Don has pivoted over the last decade into building a business and then writing about how he's built a really successful business using storytelling, which is his superpower. And so he's written Building a Story Brand, which is a book that most of you guys probably already have. If you've been to any of the trade shows, you've gotten them from our booth. But he's also written Business Made Simple, Hero on a Mission, which is one of my new favorite books, especially in personal development. And I recommend you guys buy that for all of your employees and walk them through that. And so many other things, Marketing Made Simple and so many other things. But we wanted to have Don on here and just kind of answer some questions that we have. And I have a few questions that I want to ask, but I'm going to open it up. Ryan first. Ryan, you've built a brand script for your car wash business. You're down in Orange County. And so those of you that don't know what a brand script is, the brand script is a 7-part framework. It's a storytelling framework that you can use for your business to actually engage your customers. And there's 7 parts to it. Ryan has walked his business through each of those 7 parts, talking about what the customer wants, the problem that the customer has, how he solves that problem for the customers, and then what the results of that story is when his customers do business with him. Mm-hmm. So Brian had a specific question about using the brand script. And so Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and let you ask Don that question.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we refined it with your help, Josh. I think it's really good right now, and I'm excited to get it out there to my staff. Sounds like, Don, thank you for doing this, by the way, Don. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. You've learned a lot about this industry, I bet, recently, and I'm sure you know that we got a really young employee base, not unlike Starbucks or Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. Got a lot of 17 and 18-year-old part-timers out there. And I'm wondering if that would change the approach in how we teach our brand script. Is it over the heads of most of these part-time kids? Or is it too important to neglect and not pound away at during onboarding and initial training the first couple of weeks? I'm trying to figure out how to approach it when we bring on a 17-year-old part-timer that really is just here maybe for a few months. Hard to get them to buy into the culture. Our culture is good, but it's really hard when you have these young kids that are just there for a few months and they have no real work experience. Should we be hammering at them as well to know the brand script and know how we talk to our customers and why?
Well, Ryan, don't tell anybody that I said this, but no. I think the brand script is really a leadership document. I really do. And I don't think you can expect, unless a kid wants to learn how to run a business and you're going to kind of run a side project where you teach them to be an entrepreneur and teach them the basics of business, which is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. I think the more important thing to do with a young, labor pool is to get sound bites into their mouths and use them, in play as a critical action. So critical action is part of our business on a mission stuff. It'll hit the platform soonish, but let me just break it down for you. I think that you should challenge and even require your staff to say to at least 5 to 10 customers a day, that's a great looking car. That's it. Now that's going to come from probably from your brand script on the success bucket. My guess is they're going to end up with a great looking car. But what you're really doing then is you're adding perceived value. You're affirming value. So if you require all your kids who are working that car wash if people are, drying off their car, or if they don't have to do that, if you're just handing keys back to somebody, say, man, that's a great looking car. And you can even say, you need to say it's a great looking car. You need to turn around. You need to look at their car when you say it. And then you need to say, have a good day. That's your version of my pleasure from Chick-fil-A.
Like that.
And so that what you're doing then is you're giving the customer an experience of having lived a story in which they experienced a transformation, or at least their car did. They may not have, but their car did. And you're affirming value as they drive off the parking lot. Now, that's not teaching these kids the brand script, but it's the same as sort of putting a sentence on your website or putting a sentence in an email. You're just putting a sentence in labor's mouth. I would do that. That's how I would do it. And I might come up with a few things that you can do. One of the characteristics of people who work here is when we hand somebody their keys, say, man, that's a great looking car. And it's a powerful, powerful, powerful tool. And it's a differentiator from your competition for sure. But I don't know that I would go in and teach them the brand script.
Okay.
Unless they're going to be on leadership.
Unless they're on the fast track, they look like manager material or
100%. And you can explain where that's a great looking car comes from. It comes from this philosophy. It's a climactic scene that you're having every customer experience.
Yeah. Okay, great. Cool.
So Don, you brought it up with that's your version of my pleasure, which, Chick-fil-A has made famous, but this is actually, it's funny that you brought it up because Ryan had a second question about your interview with Horst Schulze. And Horst Schulze, I heard him once say that Chick-fil-A got that from him when Truett Cathy came and asked him what he was going and doing. Horst Schulze had all of his employees with the Ritz-Carlton. Every time somebody would say thank you, his employees would say my pleasure. And Truett Cathy was walking through and consult, or Horst Schulze was consulting with him, and he says, you need to come up with your own version of my pleasure. And Truett Cathy said, I think I like my pleasure, and so he started using it with that. But Ryan, you had a second part to that question, and I'll just go ahead and let you ask that really quickly as well, since Don kind of brought that up.
I've listened to a lot of your podcasts. That's my favorite. There's so many good nuggets from you too in there. And I think I've listened to it maybe a dozen times.
Oh, that's awesome. He's really special.
Oh yeah. Amazing. But I love the part about empowering his people, from the valet to a room cleaner to a front desk person, up to $2,000, the way you guys worded it, to keep a customer. And I love that. I just wonder how that translates to our industry, again, with part-timers, with young employees that we're training as fast as we can. We're struggling to bring in people right now. I want to do that kind of empowerment, but what do you think a nice level is for us? Obviously, we can't go up to that amount. Our ticket average is, a fraction compared to what their ticket average is at the Ritz-Carlton. We're all averaging 10 to 15 bucks. I guess it should be proportionate to that. Yeah. But I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that, on how we empower a young staff to have that same trust that he was talking about.
Well, you're going to love an interview that we did yesterday. I think it airs in October, but it's with a guy named Will Gadara. And Will Gadara started 11 Madison Park, which was the #1 restaurant in the world for a period of time. He also, as a chef, won a James Beard Award. So he wasn't the chef. He was a chef and he won a James Beard Award. Then he started a restaurant in which he wasn't the chef, and it became the #1 restaurant in the world. So the guy knows how to hit home runs. And he had a few points on hospitality and customer service. And one of them was that you need one size fits one solutions. And what he meant by that was, he overheard at the world's best restaurant, he overheard a bunch of 4 or 5 foodies eating at a table. And they said, well, the one thing we didn't eat was a street hot dog. He didn't say anything. He just poured their wine and walked away, walked right out the back door, went to the local hot dog stand on the corner, bought 1 hot dog, brought it back, cut it up into 5, dressed it up, put it on 5 different plates, and delivered it as their next course. And what he meant by that was, you don't do that with every table. It's not going to make sense, but you respond to what these people are saying. So I think it's probably too much to ask to have our employees do that. Mm-hmm. But, if they see a spot on a car, or if they see drops, coming off the mirror that's going to leave a snot mark, mm-hmm. I think they have permission to just, hey, stop somebody, say, can I wipe this for you? I got 1 spot right here. Mm-hmm. That, and that's a great looking car, man. Those kinds of things, they're astronomical in terms of growing your business, and they're both free. But I think that's your equivalent of spending $2,000. Obviously, you spend $2,000, you're not going to have a business very long. Mm-hmm. But I think those are the kinds of things that you want to train people to do. I think I just think that's what defines. What's amazing is that will actually define your culture in that car lot, mm-hmm. Or in that car wash, because when people together decide to serve, it binds them. Yeah. And it makes them very proud of their work. And we all can tell a difference. I went into a Whataburger. I was driving from New Orleans to Nashville the other day, and I stopped at a Whataburger, because we don't have enough Whataburgers around here. I got to stop when I see one. And I mean, it was a brand new Whataburger. I mean, the paint was still drying on the wall. And it was one of the most depressing experiences I've had, because the staff were so sad to be working there. I literally walked up to a lady at the cash register, and she just kind of looked at me, and I said, do you mind if I place an order? She goes, well, and she just pointed at the next cash register. I said, do you want me to go to that one? And she goes, okay, I'll go to this one. And then, I mean, they were practically crawling around in the kitchen. And then I finally got my burger, drove away. It was the wrong friggin' burger.
Oh, no.
And so but I think that's because they just don't have a vision. They feel used. Mm-hmm. And they feel hopeless, and it's a problem in America. It's not a Whataburger problem. It was still a good burger, by the way. So I think to be able to say, hey, our mission here isn't just clean cars. It's to make people feel like they're special and unique, and they can't believe what they just got for $15. Yeah. They were treated well. Yeah. And, to say to somebody, I want you to treat people the way you wish people would treat you. Yeah. And then also to teach them the principle that when you serve people and you treat them well, mm-hmm. life goes your way, man. Yeah. Like you're going to have to turn the other cheek sometimes, and people are going to use you and abuse you, but in the long run, life goes your way. Yeah. And it does. I firmly believe that you become a magnet, that success is drawn to you when you're that kind of a person. Yeah. So maybe that's the principle that you're teaching in these couple different ways.
Okay. That's great. Thanks.
I'm still trying to figure out why you left New Orleans and went to Whataburger.
Well, I had breakfast in New Orleans, Josh. I'm not crazy. Okay. Yeah. This was Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I mean,
yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
Name one good thing that comes out of Tuscaloosa. Okay, never mind.
You're right. Tigers. All right. So
we're going to lose Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, I don't know. Bill, are you a Bama fan or an Auburn fan? I think you're an Auburn fan.
Auburn, come on.
Oh, there you go. He doesn't mind.
Yeah,
he doesn't mind.
I don't know. I may have just insulted him, and he can't talk on here because his mic's not connected. So, Kevin Jacobs with Wash Right Car Wash, he had a question. Kevin, if you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Don your question.
Yep. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. How are y'all doing today? First off,
we're doing great, Kevin. Thanks.
Great.
Cool. Glad to hear it. A question I had was, so in a market that is large enough for more than one location. And then you open up your other ones, and by the time you get the other washes open, you've built an established base at your existing washes, and then you get your new ones open, and they're in fairly similar proximity. What's a good way to reach that new base of customers that you haven't already gotten to?
Well, if you can capture emails and Josh and Levi can help a great deal with that, and just remind people that you exist. One thing that I would do, and there's a little bit of money behind it, Kevin, but at least for a social media campaign, every day I'd take a picture of somebody standing in front of their car. Like, I'd go to somebody and say, "Hey, your car looks great. You mind if I take a picture of it? What is this?" It's a 1978 Gran Torino, or whatever. Just anytime you see a special car, grab a phone, take a picture of it. That's your Instagram feed. And the reason that's your Instagram feed is one, it's people are kind of voyeuristic when it comes to cars. I mean, I watch like YouTube videos of reviews of cars that, I'm not interested in, but I just sit there and watch them, and all the bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff. And I think what you're doing is you're reminding people that you exist. So, if what you want is when somebody gets in their car and it's dirty, to think of you and to remember that you exist. I think that's the biggest fight for your industry when it comes to marketing. It's not announcing that you have specials. It's not announcing any of that stuff. It's literally just reminding them that you exist, preferably every day, certainly 5 days a week, and an email at least every week. And if you're selling subscriptions, I think I pay $40 a month to drive through this car wash down the road. And by the way, they've asked me 50 times to give them $40, and I've never done it. And they asked me differently once, and I did it. They said, "Hey, for $40, you can go through as many times as you want this month." And for some reason, that just rang like, oh, that seems like a deal. Like, unlimited access for the rest of my life for $40 a month. I don't need it. I'm not here that often. But when they said you can go through as many times as you want this month, I gave them my $40, and I don't know why I did it. And then they said, don't forget to cancel if you don't want it. You can cancel anytime. And then I realized, oh, wait, I just bought a subscription. And then it didn't bother me. So I kept it. But it was a physical person at the kiosk thing that you drive through who told me that, and who took my card and charged me. And I guarantee you they're raking in money with a physical person saying, "Hey, for $40, you can drive through as many times as you want this month." Really? Yeah. And you can cancel at any time. And I did it. I said yes. And
they took the risk out.
I don't know what it was. I think part of it was a physical person. Second, they explained the value in such a way that, unlimited access is different than you can drive through as many times as you want this month. It's just worded differently. It'd be interesting to try that as a test. But
it's interesting that you say that, because we have been preaching, Levi and I have, of removing the word unlimited from your messaging, because it doesn't feel like as much of a value. Well, if I don't go every day and use it as often as I can, then I'm wasting my money. So if you remove that and say, watch as much as you want when you want, that feels more valuable to me. And we didn't discuss this beforehand. So it's interesting that you say that, because that's kind of where Levi and I have been over the last 6 months. And it's very different than what the rest of the industry does, because you see unlimited everywhere. And we would actually feel like that actually might be hurting sales.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is that's a good thought, Josh. And this particular car wash reads my license plate. And I imagine a lot of you have that technology right now. So the gate just goes open. If he would have said, "Hey, for $40, you can drive through as many times as you want this month, and you will never have to pull out your credit card again," it reads your license plate. Now, I think there are a lot of people who will pay $40 not to pull out their credit card and press the buttons.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's worth experimenting with that stuff. But I do think the number one thing that made me give him my $40 was a human being who said it to me, you know, and took my credit card, and it was a yes or no question, and I gave them a yes. I bet you they signed. It was a sunny day and there was a line, and I bet you they signed up 100 subscribers that day. It'd be worth it for one day to stand out there yourself and do it.
Yeah. Well, he gave you a call to action. He gave you something to accept or reject, right. Which is something that you said before, which is, you know, a part of your brand script if you're building your StoryBrand brand script. And on that note, Don, one of the questions that I have, it seems to be the number one concern in this industry right now is not a recession. It's not even the increased cost, which both of those are a concern, but they're not as big as the growth of the industry, the rapid growth of the industry, and the competition. I mean, one of our customers in Colorado Springs, you can literally sit in his vacuum lot and see 3 other car wash brands from his vacuum lot.
That's
so
terrifying.
what it can be, yes. So what would you recommend for these guys? And this is really why we're doing the summit. All of these guys are attending the summit in November, and hopefully the people that will listen to this will realize that the summit is one of the ways that you can help differentiate yourself from your competition, because we're giving a lot of strategies there. But what would you say is something that these guys can do to really help differentiate themselves from the competition and make themselves the preferred car wash in their community?
Well, I think doing a campaign to get subscriptions, to get what do you guys call that in the industry? I'm calling it subscriptions.
Memberships.
Yeah, doing a campaign to get a membership and being extremely aggressive. They're going to be loyal to you because they're paying a monthly fee anyway. So that's your number one way to target those folks. And if you ask every single customer and you experiment with different ways of doing it, and you go with the one that gets the most yeses, then you just duplicate that forever. I mean, you never stop. You have somebody out there every day, you know, asking folks if they want that. I think that needs to become part of your business strategy. And then that's a great looking car, man. If you have I saw in the chat, if you have an express lane in which you're not human to human interacting with people, if it doesn't disturb traffic, you can actually put a mirror where they can see their car, and the words above it, that's a great looking car. And you're given what you're doing is you're providing, the guide is stepping in to tell the hero that they have transformed, that they're different. And if you don't do that, the hero doesn't know that they've transformed. They don't know that they just got value unless you tell them that you just got value. You know, so I think those two things are necessary if you want to compete. And you've got to be aggressive. You have to keep reminding them that you exist. They have to keep getting emails from you. You know, if you coast on your marketing, your business will decline, period. It just will. And so we've got to beat the competition that way. Another thing you can do is just take some black shoe polish and put it all over the vacuum of your competitor's vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, that's good. And when Don says emails, he means text messages. So
text messages.
No,
we're sure that's way better for car lot.
97% open rate right now. So that's good. And you know, you're always preaching, you want to be on that most intimate device that they have. Yep. And so that's what we're doing, is building that list. Levi, you had a question, and we'll kind of wrap it up with this because you know, Don, you've got Business Made Simple, and I'll actually put a link on Business Made Simple. But you talk about the parts of the airplane and how different departments, or with these guys, just different aspects of their business, whether it's accounting, it's marketing, it's different aspects. Levi, you had a question specifically on marketing and going into whatever kind of economy we're going into. And so I'll let you kind of ask that question.
Yeah. Before I ask that question, I just wanted to kind of reiterate, Don, you talk about many times in your book to, you know, not have people burn calories, right? Don't make them think more than they need to. And you just touched on it, guys. We talk about unlimited. When people were telling you unlimited, what does that mean? That's very just big. And like, gosh, I'm not even sure what that is. But when you say, I love what you said there, guys, and pay attention to this, obviously, wash as much as you want. And then I love the part, never pull your credit card out again. You just created the exact scenario. It's like, oh, I can wash as much as I want and not pull my credit card. That's a lot different than, hey, your CSA standing there saying, hey, guys, go unlimited, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's too much for the consumer to sit and digest. And now you've made me burn calories and think, and I'm just out. But when you paint that picture, and in this business, a lot of assumptions are made, Don, where just like you talked about on that, as well as even the name of the products, the ceramic, the carnauba waxes, they're this and that. And people don't know what that means. They don't know, hey, get ceramic ceramic shield. And I don't even know what ceramic shield is. Is a shield going to come around my car and I'm defending? Like, there's just too much thought. So I love that you touched on that, and that got you personally. And it's really good to hear from a consumer who, like you said, for 40 times, they never converted you, but changing that one thing made you understand that this is, yeah, you're right. This is what I need. So that wasn't my question, but I was just really reiterating the fact that the assumptions made in this space, sometimes we're just too close to them, and we need to step outside a little bit and say, how do we dumb down kind of what we're trying to do with our customers? So good stuff there. And then I just had a question, Don, just in general, with marketing and your budgets, is there a magic formula, or how much should we be spending on marketing? Like, what percentage of our revenue? And obviously we're going into, potential recession. People are like, do we cut back? How much should we be spending? Is it kind of general across the board, or is every industry a little bit different? Or I would just like your take on that.
Well, I love at least 10% of profit, if not more. And of course, that depends on what you're actually doing, how much profit you're making, that sort of thing. What it really depends on is the marketing working? And if it's working, I'd spend a ton of money on it, especially if you've got some competitors down the street. If it's working, I mean, why wouldn't you? If every time I give you $50, you give me 100, am I going to go, man, that's awesome, I'm going to do that at least once a month? I'm going to do that every hour. Every 5 minutes is when I'm going to do that.
Put more into it. It's like
yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Jackpot.
Yeah, it's an ATM machine. So, you got to dial in and you got to make it work. And then you got, but I think if you're not spending at least 10%, you're going to be forgotten. And in you guys' industry, I would make it all membership. I would promote the heck out of that thing. And because I call that manna from heaven. You wake up every morning and you got bread on the ground that you can eat, your family can eat. So I think it's really expensive. I think it's really important, and it's a good investment. I'm sure it's expensive, and you see that line item and you think, man, I wonder if we could keep doing this without it. If you can, do, but my guess is you can't, right? I find that when I coast on my company, our numbers flatline. And unless I get aggressive, we're, releasing new products, new lead generators or whatever, it's, a business is not a perpetual energy machine. And really successful business people understand that. And that's why they beat their competitors in the market, because they believe they end up believing that, because they don't want to do the work. And that's where you pass them. I would not think that a car wash would go down during a recession, because it's such a simple pleasure. I mean, they're going to spend money on a car wash and they're not going to go on vacation. So this is their new vacation money, or this is their new jet ski money. I would think that you guys could corner the market on those simple, rewarding things that you can experience when people are tightening their belts. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, Levi, but
100%.
But yeah, I think that we anticipate growth. If we go into a recession, we anticipate growth, because when people don't have a lot of money, they tend to look for help. And we do business coaching and marketing help and all that kind of stuff. So we would anticipate that we would grow. It's when people are loaded with money that they don't try to grow or try to get any more. They get fat and lazy. So we're going to be aggressive, and we are being extremely aggressive over the next 24 months.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the other thing that you mentioned earlier, Don, that you talk about, you touched on perceived value. And I think and you said you gave Ryan a couple things that don't cost anything, right? You already have people there, people are staffed. So for you to, lower expenses, but train your people to bring value to customers that don't cost anything, I think in a time like this is huge. You don't need gimmicky things. You don't need, people just want to feel valued. They want to be cared for. And of course, people are proud. I love that. Of course, like Bill commented, he's like, I could leave right now. That's a great looking car, right? But it's so true. We forget about those things that it's the way we make people feel. And you make people feel good about themselves, about their car, they're going to spend more money. They're going to come back more often.
You're also giving people what they're buying. Nobody has ever bought an experience at a car wash. They bought a great looking car, right? That's what they bought. They bought this thing looks like it did when I drove off the car lot. And I remember how great that felt. That's so when you're able to deliver that because you said it and your competitor doesn't, that is a serious competitive advantage and a differentiator in the market. You say, well, Don, we all deliver great looking cars, but if they don't say it, nobody knows, nobody realizes that that's what they just got.
Yeah, it's good. I heard Russell Brunson say last week, when everybody's being stingy, be greedy. And when everybody's being greedy, be stingy. And this is a time where everybody's being stingy because there's so many unanswered questions. So it's a time to get aggressive and go at it. And Don, I asked you right when the pandemic hit, I reached out to you and said, hey, what do you think this is going to do to our business as marketers? And you responded almost exactly what you just said. I actually think you're going to grow because this is a time where people, they freeze, they stop, and we're going to keep pushing forward, and you're going to keep pushing forward, and you're going to grow. And you were absolutely right. So I want to end with this. We've got the summit coming up in November. You guys, y'all are all coming. I'm really excited. We've got about 100 customers that are going to be there. And if you're listening to this and you're not signed up for the summit, we've got a ton of strategies that are going to help you differentiate yourself from the competition. And part of that is actually getting people to show up to your car wash the first time and then coming again and again and again to experience those results that you get them. But I think one of the things that will also differentiate you is by putting things into practice in your business and mentoring your leadership, your employees through really great opportunities and courses. And Don, you guys, talking about memberships, you've done one, the Business Made Simple. The whole platform is really one of the most well-produced online courses that I have ever seen. And you're giving it, I tell people you're giving it away because it's less than $300 a year. And each one of these guys could get a subscription and just learn a wealth of knowledge. And I would encourage you to get a subscription for your assistant managers, your managers, your, marketing guys, whoever they are, because for less than $300, it is, more than I ever learned in my 4-year degree. But you guys just launched a new course in that called The Customer is the Hero. And I kind of want to end on you talking a little bit about that. And, how do you feel like this could be something that would be helpful for folks in this industry?
Yeah, the new course, it teaches you how to engage with potential customers in such a way they get hooked and immediately understand the value. So it's a sales course and helps you come up with sales talking points, 5 of them. The cool thing is the course actually takes you to a piece of software that's free for you that allows you to write an email really easily, really quickly that obeys a certain format. You send it out and it makes you a ton of money. So it's a sales course, but for you guys, what it's going to help you do is come up with the talking points that you want your team members to say to your customers that defines value, defines the problem that they just solved, and lets them drive off the car wash lot by thinking, man, that was unbelievably worth it, right? So I think it's a great course for you guys. We have a course coming out. 2 more courses are coming out by January that I think are going to be really awesome. One is called Management and Productivity Made Simple, and it's how to run your small business using only 5 meetings. And I love that course. And then the other one is Small Business Cash Flow Made Simple, and it's how to run your business using 5 checking accounts. And if you're not doing that yet, you want to do it, because it has saved me 1,000 headaches running my business using 5 checking accounts. So those 2 courses come out by the end of the year, but there's a bunch of courses, 10 or 12 or 15 courses in there right now.
Yeah, it's worth investing in, guys. I would highly encourage you to do that. In fact, it's got the StoryBrand courses in there, and those used to be $3,000, $1,500 a piece. And now you can get it for less than $300 a year. So I would highly recommend you. I put the link in the chat if you want to get that. I'll follow up with an email that will give you that link as well. And Ryan, that might answer your question of, what do your CSAs need to know? Do they need know the whole brand script? No, but they should know these 3 talking points: the value, the solution, and the results, which is the elevator pitch. And this sounds like a great course that could help you develop a great elevator pitch. So Don, thank you so much for being here with us and taking your time to do this. I know it's a rare opportunity because you're incredibly busy. And so we appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Oh, it's an honor. Yeah. You guys have a great week.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for showing up.